I'm Christine Stow. Welcome, everyone. And today I've got Blanche Moskovici. Is it Moskovici? Is that what I say?
It's Moskovici.
Moskovici. I like that. I'm Christine Stow, Empowered Women in Business, and I'm sharing my platform with other empowered women who are stepping up, stepping into their power, having their voice heard. So, if you haven't listened to me before, my story was I was in sales. I was national sales manager. I'd taken sales from 200,000 to 1.4 million on my own. And then found out there was something wrong with my second daughter, Imogen, and I had to reinvent myself. And then people started coming to me asking, Christine, how can I achieve that same thing? So now I help women to step into their power, to identify their gifts and reinvent themselves. It might be after a challenge, it might be find yourself as a carer, or it might be change circumstances. Maybe you're facing redundancy, whatever it is. I can help you find your gifts. And today we've got Blanche, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her story. So tell us a little about your background, Blanche.
Well, I have a background as a creative arts therapist, psychotherapist, and I have a whole bunch of qigong, meditation, Zen, mindfulness, and for me, chronic pain has been my journey as well as other experiences of pain. So I went on a journey trying to figure out how to heal myself. And it was really Qigong, or the energy arts, that I tapped into that lit me up and got the life force energy moving through me and allowed me to bring my pain score down to a 0 out of 10. So for
Wow.
me, yeah. So I'm pretty stoked about the energy arts and how to work with psychology and qigong together to help women who are struggling with chronic pain. And so for me, I'll give you a story. I've had many. I'm 63 today.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday.
Yeah, no, I mean, today, I turned 63 June 10th. So it's a very recent birthday, yes. And this 63-year-old body has had many, many blows, from car accidents, concussions, falls, frozen shoulders, twisted hips, you name it. And so I've experienced a lot of pain. But the one turning point moment when it comes to physical pain happened where I came back from visiting family in Israel. My sister-in-law was passing away from cancer, and my niece had a new baby girl. And so I went to visit. And when I came back, I decided to go visit my mother's gravesite. So here I am on a Sunday afternoon, late afternoon. I'm going to the gravesite. And when I'm ready to leave, I realize I get locked in. I was locked into the cemetery.
Oh, my God.
So just think, and I have a background of being a clairvoyant. I've helped over 10,000 people with my clairvoyance. That's before I became a therapist. And so I was not going to spend any time sleeping at the cemetery.
Not sure whether that's funny or not.
So, well, it wasn't at the time. So here I'm scanning to see how I can get out of the cemetery. And the metal gate, I could not have a foothold. So I climb up this mound to the top of this brick or this rock wall, right? The cemetery has a wall to it. And I'm sitting on the wall and questioning how on earth am I going to get out of here? And the only thing I could figure out to do was to jump, because I didn't have the strength in my hands to kind of pull myself down or any of that. And I didn't want to fall on my head again. Didn't want any more concussions. So I jumped. And I jumped and fell on my left side, and my left hand just kind of like broke the fall. And I also felt like my fall was cushioned, meaning it could have been much worse than what it was. And I get up and go into my Jeep, go home. And within the week, my sister-in-law passes away, and the pain kicks in like I've never, ever felt pain before. And so here was my journey to really find my way. So before that, it was osteopathy, massage, acupuncture, laser therapy, many, many different kinds of things. And I found it took me 3 years. And then I finally found Qigong. And then when I started to practice the energy arts, just the pain kept on going down and dissipated and dissolved. And so for me, actually, this is another story if you're interested. In 2022, I was having a discussion with a client virtually with COVID and everything, right? I'm a family mental health counselor, and I was experiencing my tongue getting tied. I was not able to speak. So I was having what you would call a mini stroke, but I didn't know it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so here I'm consolidating my Zen focus, my energy arts practice, my psychology, my psychotherapy practice, my awareness, everything, you name it, into 1 minute of time to get my tongue back online. And I even wrote a book. Behind me, you see a book called Turning Point Moments, Volume 2. And I wrote a chapter called Tongue Tied Minute in it, because within 1 minute, I was able to get my tongue back online. And I went to the hospital. And after 3 days of tests, I even did Qigong in the hospital. After 3 days of tests, they found nothing. It's as if whatever I did, because it was pretty impressive for me, is get out of that situation. And that's how my Fab 3 process was born, which is what I share with women today for chronic pain relief. So I have had multiple experiences, physical experiences, to get me to where I am today when it comes to pain. Aside from working with caregivers of a loved one suffering from mental illness and counseling them about their emotional, psychological pain. So pain is something that I'm familiar with.
So you also work with caregivers? Because as you know, I'm a carer. So there'd be possibly a lot of, we call in Australia, say carers, but I think in other countries they say caregivers.
Yes.
So you also work with caregivers to overcome their pain as well? Because I think people will be interested in that.
I work with caregivers of a loved one suffering from mental illness. So, but carers or caregivers, they all have a very important learning curve when it comes to self-care and when it comes to prioritizing themselves and ensuring. And I loved your story, about the sailing, because this is epitome of you taking care of yourself.
Yeah. So you've obviously watched my videos about sailing. Yeah.
I told you I was checking you out.
Yeah. And well, I did think, well, this is fantastic. And then I went, oh, can't do that. And then I went, no. And I was thinking to myself this morning that I don't think we choose to become carers or caregivers. I think, it's usually circumstances. And for myself, I was high-powered, corporate, flying all around the world, swanning around in yachts with anaesthetists, to be then, bang, finding something wrong that the child and maternal health nurse said she's not meeting her milestones, and I just saw my life float away. That was tied up with my identity.
Yeah.
I was this corporate person. People were listening to me. Then all of a sudden, that wasn't the case anymore, and I was a carer without an identity and without that power. I'd lost my voice. So when I was on council, local government, then again I had a voice and I was being heard. But then when I wasn't on council anymore, I thought I need to help other women to step into their power, to have their voice heard. But yeah, it is important but I was thinking that there must be a lot of carers out there with a similar feeling. Like studied a Masters of Business Administration, and I felt that I'd been ripped off. I couldn't use my skills and ability. I have skills and abilities, but because I'm caring, I couldn't use those anymore. I couldn't feel valued. So I'm sure that there's many caregivers out there that are feeling the same, like that loss of identity and that loss of value. So I guess I'd like to hear if anyone's listening to comment. Do you feel that that loss, that powerlessness, and perhaps it's something you can help people with, Blanche?
I like I said, I can when it comes to family mental illness, because that's been a territory I've been involved in. I was a young carer. I had a mother who suffered from schizoaffective disorder. My father had addiction issues. I was in a young carer role for a very long time before. And then I worked with people suffering from mental illness. And then I worked with caregivers, and I still work with caregivers. So, but my baby project is the healing from chronic pain. And I have come across some caregivers who are struggling with chronic pain. And that's why I created this 7 triangle relationships, because a lot of the women I see, the caregivers I see, they are triggered in relationships. And if they suffer from any form of chronic pain or stress, that just shoots up the score, the pain score. So it's very tied. The stress is tied to the body, to your relationship, and to your role, as well as to your identity. And if a woman can get a handle on her pain and recognize how she is triggered, and in what situations she's triggered, and who is she triggered more with, and how she can kind of establish her boundaries. Like you're talking about having a voice. There are so many of the women I see that cannot affirm themselves, are so scared to put the boundaries up.
Yeah.
It's like, it's an issue. It's a major issue.
Yeah. I was talking on one of these podcasts earlier today to Van Ann, and she was saying about, but it's about like children. Maybe children, we need to help teach them boundaries, how to set boundaries. Maybe for me.
I don't work with kids. I only work with adults.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people out there who work with kids.
Yeah, but maybe we need to teach. Well, we need to teach people, if you get to that point, later in your life, setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is, I can so relate to the setting of boundaries, because if you don't, people take liberties.
And it's not just that the people take liberties; the person doesn't feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
And it perpetuates a dynamic, a triangle. Okay. And the reason why I put triangle in there is because here the focus is pain. But when I'm talking with caregivers, it's like the wife, the husband, and their ill child, adult child. So that's a triangle. And that can impact the dynamics in the household, in the family, in the relationships. But we have these triangles as well when it comes to pain. So if you have, so for instance, if I go into those 7 key relationships that are integral, the first one is family members, our closest to home. And sometimes you will have a family member that doesn't understand what you're living. You're living with chronic pain. Okay. And sometimes they will minimize what it is that you're experiencing, or how they are there to support you or not support you. right? And they're very important relationships because they all link towards healing, right? If you're in a relationship, whether it's with a family member, a supportive partner, social circle, friends, work environment, if you are, your own employer, entrepreneur, or the people that you hire to support you with building your business, or your clients, or your healthcare providers who you go to get support to help you heal. And then those other parties, what if you have to deal with an insurance company, or if you're doing a file if you've had a car accident, or you're closing some kind of file. So there's different, and then there's you yourself. So me, myself, and I. And so, or me, my pain, and I. So it's really trying to understand all those different dynamics and choosing yourself and how you're going to tackle it and what you need at that present moment. And so boundaries are so integral to all of these relationships, including the one with yourself.
So why would somebody come to you? What would be the trigger? Like, what would be a symptom? What would they be saying to themselves before they come to you?
I can't take it anymore. It's like I've spent the money on meds. I'm tired of being on meds. With me, it's without meds. I get you. I get your pain. I get you to drop your pain score without meds. And a lot of people are fed up of using meds.
Yeah.
That's one.
Probably using meds, and it's not. You just get more and more addicted. Doesn't really bring the pain down. Maybe it's a placebo, maybe not. But if you can do it naturally and get to the heart of the problem, then it gets solved, like, for good.
Exactly.
Presumably.
Okay. We're not talking about cure. We're talking about self-healing.
Yeah.
So when I'm speaking about my approach, it's self-healing. So you are responsible for the work. I can show you what has worked for me. I can tailor it to what it is that you're living. And we're talking about the physical, okay? And then we may need to walk into the emotional and the psychological, right? Because pain carries multiple layers. And so it's a process to do the work.
Yeah. So they'd be saying, "Oh, I can't take it anymore. I've had enough." And then, so where would they find you?
They'll
On Facebook.
They'll find me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm learning to get out there on Facebook. I'm not strong yet with social media, and I'm hoping to public speak more. So really, it's a Therapeutic Flow, my company, and everyone here who listens to this podcast with you, Christine, is going to get my checklist, which is the 7 key, 7 triangle relationships, who triggers your chronic pain. And I like to specify as an energy sensitive woman. I'm a highly sensitive person. Some women are highly sensitive, some are less. But I really am open to working with women who are receptive and open and wanting to connect with their body and themselves in a way that they take control. They take charge of what it is that they're living, how they're perceiving reality. So for me, if anybody wants to reach out to me, they can do that by email or through Facebook Messenger or through LinkedIn.
So you'll share your links after this. You'll share your links where people can connect with you in the podcast after this. I'll tag you so that they can connect with you in the podcast, in the streams as well. So once they come to you, then you have a discussion and work out what happens next.
First, I evaluate to see what it is that they're wanting, what they're looking for, where they're struggling, and take a look at realistic goals because I do a 6-week process. So this is not a long-term process. This is a 6 weeks to learn my Fab3 process. And it's first, it's you learning how to get into sensing your body, your energy body, yourself. And then it's mastering all the different fundamentals. After that, then you're going into working with your imagination and reinforcing that, because we are creating neural pathways in our brain and we're working towards building an upgraded identity of ourselves, pain-free, starting with pain-free moments, of being able to drop our pain score down to 0.
Yeah.
And anchoring that in. And then it's going into loving on ourselves and attending to ourselves with compassion, because we're dealing with all of these other relationships that could easily trigger us, like having a boyfriend that asks you, how's your back pain today? Well, just that question can be a trigger for someone. So it's learning to navigate the relationships as well, and loving on yourself. And then it's going into, I teach people how to tailor using the tools for themselves on the fly and create that experience for themselves. And then getting into that savoring moment of having succeeded to be able to do that repeatedly over 6 weeks, so that they know that they can kind of move forward. And if they want to go for massage, if they want to go for osteo, if they want to try something else to accompany, they can. Yet in between sessions or in between treatments or whatever, they are able to rely on themselves.
That sounds fantastic. To bring your pain from 10 to 0 for yourself, that's amazing. So anyone who's listening, Blanche will share the links to the seven people that trigger your pain. And also, if you want to connect with her, she'd love to have a chat with you. So thanks for being on today. It's been fantastic to listen. I'd love to hear more stories.
Well, just call me back.
Yeah, we might do it again. All right. Thanks for being on today.
Thank you, Christine.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.